Right, good morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And thank you for joining me on another episode of Chris's Warrior Path, the show where we discuss topics mainly on health and self-defense, but we'll tend to go into other topics as well, depending on what's going on in the world and what's of interest. I am your host, Chris, and thank you for joining me on this Monday, April 5th, 2021 edition of Chris's Warrior Path. Actually, this is a live impromptu episode. So I appreciate you being here, wherever you are in the world, whether you're in the US or in some other country, whether you're an old listener or new listener. Thank you very much. I appreciate you for being here. And also, for those who do celebrate Easter, happy Easter, happy belated Easter. And for those who don't celebrate Easter, well, I hope things are going well. And no disrespect to you, but hey, hope things are going well for you, and I hope you had a good Sunday as well. And so, with the topic of Easter, and I'm not going to get too much into the spiritual, religious aspect of it, but I think this is a good way for me to segue into today's topic, which you can see in the title of this live room about dealing with toxic and narcissistic people. Perhaps maybe within your own circle, maybe within your family. I think this would be a good way for me to segue into this and briefly discuss this. And now I will make the disclaimer that I'm not a licensed physician or psychologist. This is for informational purposes only. And also I'm going to bring out my personal experiences. And maybe some of you can relate to this. And hopefully it would get your gears turning in your head and maybe think about some stuff. And if you wanted to seek further assistance, there's plenty of people out there that could help you with this, because I think this is one of the hot topics these days, or as of late. And so with my comparison of Lent and Easter, I know for me personally, this has been very transformative. And especially what's been going on this past year regarding lockdowns, and you start to see who's really on your side and who isn't. And I know personally from experience where even with family members and quote unquote friends who are in your social circle, that you thought that they had your back when they really don't. And so with these lockdowns, with what's been going on with these guidelines, again, you start to, or if you have been paying attention to what's been going on in your personal life, you know who's been with you, who's been down with you, who really has your back, and then the ones who would fuck you over, pretty much. And so, with that said, with me and the whole Lent, and for those who don't celebrate it, basically Lent, the way I view it, it's kind of like making New Year's resolutions, but to really stay committed and to do this in a different time of the year. Or for me, it's almost like getting on an exercise program or attaining a certain goal in life. And that takes a lot of discipline, am I correct? And you got to stay laser-like focused on what you want to accomplish. Now, with Lent season, I know, well, because some of the masses or the churches are closed in my area, I decided to make a spiritual cleanse myself. And so, if needed be, I needed to get on and watch some live streams. And that really caused for me, a soul-searching type of Lent. One that I haven't really experienced before, and I'm glad that I did. And I started obtaining habits, and also I started breaking addictions of laziness and being stagnant, especially this past year with the lockdowns and shit's all closing up, and you're kind of self-isolated. I found other ways to turn that around in my life. and to make that work to my advantage. Because again, one of the advantages of the lockdowns, at least for me, and I know a number of people as well, they have used this to do some soul searching and to live in solitude, to find out how strong that they really are, and to go off and start learning new skills if need be. And so for me, Lent was like that. And this leads me to Easter, where, okay, people are forgetting what the whole point is. It's not always egg hunting, but rather it's rising up. And with me, I felt that there was a rebirth. I felt that I've left behind a number of things that that just weren't suitable for me in my life anymore. I was basically doing a detox in my own life. And it's just interesting because I remember my first pilot episode of Chris's Warrior Path, I had spoken about gut health, and I had gone more into detoxifying yourself, such as not only your colon, but your liver, your kidneys, and so forth. And that was the first time that I had actually detoxed officially and taken a supplement. Now, I've done forms of detoxing when I was still doing natural competitive bodybuilding and eating a lot of fiber, fruits and veggies, and so forth. But this was the first time I really got 200% focused on it. And it was just interesting how I lost weight and I felt better about myself. And all that crap, figuratively speaking and literally, and not to be so graphic, but yeah, when you do that, you feel better about yourself. You start dropping shit in more ways than one. But anyways, I felt that way when during these past couple weeks or few weeks, trying to rebuild myself and to really think about where I need to work on in my life as far as improving and getting towards my goals. And that also meant dropping and cutting people off who are toxic and perhaps narcissistic, to where they'll find any way to abuse you and to twist the situation around to where they don't want to take the blame, and then they blame it on you or someone else. And yes, that happens in both family and friends. For those of you who probably know, then yeah, you'll get what I'm saying. And again, with Easter, that was more of a rebirth for me and a load off of me. And so those are some principles that I want you, the listeners, to take a hold of, and hopefully you can apply that to your lives and find a new perspective to this whole thing. So it's not, yes, there is a spiritual, religious type of aspect to it, but aside from that as well, you know, this is a way to rebirth and just reform and drop these shitty ass addictions that are not moving you towards your goal, your life purpose. And so my second point, I was talking about rebirth and reforming yourself. So basically you're dropping negative shit in your life, aka you're detoxing your life. Now you have to ask yourself, okay, look at your job, your career, your relationships, any addictions you may have. I mean, we all have that, but it's a matter of us in the end where we need to take control and drop those bad addictions and turn them into positive habits that are going to move us forward in life. A job, for instance, and I know I've made this point clear in a few episodes, previous episodes of mine, where yes, we are in a shitty ass economy, and whatever job you can take to help pay the bills and put food in your stomach and a family that you need to feed, then yes, okay, I agree with that. But also too, if it's a job where you have people gossiping, backstabbing you, you got to ask yourself, why? Why are you in that situation when in actuality there are other methods and other routes that you could take? And I'm saying lawful and legally, whether you want to do a business or you want to go into another job. And I do know some people who have had to take other jobs or transfer jobs because they just couldn't handle the shit that was going on at the workplace. And I know, for instance, I've dealt with toxic workplaces where you had bosses that would micromanage you, and you had coworkers that were backstabbing you and talking shit, and yeah, they would gossip about you, and they had nothing better to do. But they would stand in front of you and have a smile on their face. And they just got to a point where I said, "No, fuck this. I deserve better." And so, with that said, those were jobs that I left in the past. And, it may take time, but you shouldn't stop working to where you want to be, is what I'm saying. And even if that means you gotta take a second job, or if you want to run a business on the side, you have to remember that it takes time, especially with a business. If you want that to be successful, now there's no guarantees if it's going to be successful or not, but it does take time. You see any entrepreneur out there, they'll tell you that it's not an overnight success. It takes time. And with that point in mind, because if you happen to be in a job you don't like, that doesn't mean that you can't go off to the side and work on your grind, your small business, and grow that into something big someday. You shouldn't have to use anything such as lockdowns or whatever the fuck's going on. If you got toxic people in your life and so forth, I know a number of people who have worked from the ground up. For instance, I was living in my car for some time when my mother was still alive, and I had to tend to her in the hospitals, and then I had a shitty overnight job, and but that didn't stop me from trying to get out of that situation. And there were a number of times in my life where I got knocked down, and then I had to pick myself back up. If anything, if I didn't do anything, then I would have no one else to blame but myself. And yes, rightfully so. You may have other factors in your life that are working against you. I could guarantee you that. But again, that doesn't mean that it should leave you paralyzed from what you really should be doing, what your calling is in life. So let's see, I spoke about addictions and jobs. Well, I'll speak about addictions in a little bit. But relationships. Why are you in a relationship that it's not a loving relationship? If someone's just abusing you in some way, why the fuck would you stay in that? And then people say, well, I feel sorry for this person. Oh, they'll change. I just love this person. Maybe just give it some time. They have their moments. No. Now, see, I do believe in forgiveness. Don't get me wrong. But if you allow that to happen, if you're staying in that, then that's on you. I hate to say that, but that's on you. And there's that saying, hurt me once, shame on you. Hurt me twice, shame on me. That holds so true. Why would you be in a relationship that's not even bringing anything good to your table? Rather, it's taking and draining things from your table. And this goes to what I was saying earlier, my intro to my shows, where the show's mainly on health and self-defense, topics relating to that. But if you think about this topic for today, it can relate in both health and self-defense. Because for one thing, you don't want it's like eating toxic food. What is that going to do to your body over time? The same thing with toxic people, toxic relationships. You deal with narcissism. It's going to break down your body. Am I correct? So that kind of it segues and relates into health and self-defense. Self-defense because you're trying to protect yourself. You're trying to make a better life for yourself. So why the fuck would you have someone who is not bringing anything to your table that's positive and constructive and productive? So that's definitely something to think about. And yes, you know what? Hey, years ago, if you had found me, I would have been guilty of this. So I'm not going to lie and be on my high horse and, I'm too good for this. No, I mean, we've all been through this, but I think we all need reminders as well. And it's the question of what are you willing to take as far as relationships. And I don't care if you're dating someone. I don't care if you're married to someone. But now I'm not saying go ahead and cut them off right now. But I am saying that you definitely need to assess the situation and think about it, weigh the positives and the negatives, and if there's someone you trust that you can talk to, definitely you talk to them and see what their feedback is. But in the end, that's going to be you who's going to make that decision. And if you're willing to have toxic shit go into your life in any form, then hey, that's your call. But for those who just want to draw the line and set their boundaries, then hey, this is definitely for you. In hearing this, and for anyone who you know that could perhaps use this podcast episode, they want to listen to this. And on a side note, I am recording this with the camera, so I will be posting this on all three of my YouTube, my BitChute, and my Rumble platforms. So you can definitely see me there and my facial expressions on these topics and other topics that I've spoken about as well. And so that leads me to the third subpoint about addictions. Okay, well, I've spoken about this in previous episodes. I mean, assess your situation. Addictions, are they positive? Are they doing something good for your life? Are they bringing you closer to where you want to be in your life? Or are they not? I mean, are they damaging your health? Hi, how you doing, Light Bright? Thank you for joining us. Good morning, or good day, good afternoon, wherever you are. But like what I was saying with addictions in your life, and I did an episode about addictions and this past year, and there was an article that I came across where with the youngins, there has been an increase in porn addiction. And because, we have online access and all that. Well, if people are staying home in schools, or from school rather, they ain't got shit to do going on in their lives, they're going to be veering into stuff like that. And this is the reason why, or one of the reasons why I brought out my show, Chris's Warrior Path, was to hopefully help people not only in regards to health and self-defense, but also in terms of life coaching. And I know with some of the young males particularly, and maybe young females, it doesn't matter what age. And I know I've had a wide age range, but if this resonates with you, and talking about addictions, I did an episode about this weeks ago where online porn has increased. And, I was talking about my life as an athlete years ago. And, I'm hearing a lot about the thing about semen retention. And yes, I'll say it. The benefits are great. It's true. Because when I was still doing full contact fighting, when I was still doing natural bodybuilding, and I did other stuff, I was even doing some figure skating, but mainly I was doing martial arts, bodybuilding, and even powerlifting, where it's something like that where you need to be intense and you need to be on point. Why would you give your life energy away in doing something, some crazy ass addiction, such as doing, letting go of your life force and doing something like online porn? If you're doing that all the time, what do you think is going to happen to you? And of course it's going to drain your life. It's going to drain your well-being. Am I correct? And okay, there have been studies on that. So it makes sense that if that small seed can make a new human being, think about what it's doing to you if you're getting into something that's non-productive. And so that's I'm going to leave it there on that. But any other addictions as well. I mean, I've had people told me, well, I gained weight over this lockdown. And okay, I understand. Now I'm saying go and pick yourself up. You don't have to stay down. That's up to you. In the end, you got to pick yourself up. And no one's going to tell you. I mean, I could make all the episodes on this. And you could hear or listen to all the podcasts, all the YouTube from other people, all these motivational, inspirational life coaches, and they're all great. But if you don't do it, if you don't take that path, if you don't take that first step, which is the hardest step in anything, and I should tell you and speak from experience doing sports, or even in my undergraduate degrees, if you don't take that first step, then it's like the law of inertia. What remains at rest and what remains in motion, right? So that first step is essential to where you want to be in your life. And if you don't take that, then nothing else is going to matter. You're going to stick into where you are right now. You're not going to better yourself. And so anything such as, maybe weight loss, or if you're putting in foods or whatever in your system that's not even productive. I mean, you got to think about where you want to be later on. Do you want to stay in a rut, or do you want to go and better yourself? And again, I've spoken about me being homeless for some time, living in my car. I said I had enough of this shit. I've got enough going on. I need to better myself. I need to find a way out of this. And I thank God that I did. And it's a slow rehab process. And so those are my subpoints as far as rebirth and dropping negative / detoxing your life, which is job, relationships, and addictions, where you got to ask yourself. Those could be stressors. And so this leads me to my next main point about personal examples. And last night I was actually watching on YouTube Dr. Ramani. You spell that capital Ramani. I think she's great. I highly recommend you go onto her YouTube and you watch her. She made some great points about narcissistic people, including family members. And for me, that resonated a lot. How, all this time I've had people in my life who like to blame shit and don't even take their own responsibility. And yet when you try to better yourself, when you're trying to do the right thing, and when you're trying to tell the truth, you're going to have narcissistic and toxic people attack you, aka the haters. And when she said that started bringing up some points in my head where I looked in my personal life, and there were a number of people whose phone numbers I blocked. And yes, in my family. And there was one recently where I've had it with the blaming. I've had it with them trying to turn the tables and be verbally abusive, trying to make it sound like they're innocent. And here I am doing the work. And I know leading up to my mother's passing, and I know when my father was in and out of hospitals as well, leading up to his passing years ago, I remember, with me being the youngest of the siblings, I had to take a shitload of the work, whether it's the medical decisions, whether it's the legal decisions, whether it's the business or the estate decisions. I had to take all that. And, when you have siblings that want to do a rivalry, and that's normal in families. And Dr. Ramani was mentioning about this, how that narcissism stems from, it could be something from childhood events, whether it's a sibling rivalry. And I know for me, I don't want to spread out too much right now. I don't want to get too much into this, but basically having sibling rivalry, I mean, even if you're trying to do something, if you're trying to do the right thing, and again, you're going to have haters. You're going to have people attack you and say, oh, well, they try to make you look bad, and they try to gossip, perhaps behind other family members or mutual friends. They try to make you look and feel like shit. That's the definition of narcissism. Am I correct? I mean, go ahead and look it up. That hit home to me, and what's been going on the past years in my life, I have a clearer picture now. And so with that said, I know I had to cut some people off. And even if that included cutting off people from my social media, I mean, I'm almost to the point where I just want to cut my social media off completely, other than things such as my podcast show or my video platforms. But things like Fuckbook, I don't have a Twitter or Instaporn anymore, but Fuckbook, I mean, I still have some good contacts as well. That's why I don't want to completely cut it off. But I am cutting off people, blocking people off who bring negativity or are just going to block me from where I need to go, what I need to do in my life. And like I said earlier, where I think of soul searching of what I need to do in my own life and how I need to help and serve people. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way or I'm in my high horse and all that. No, I really do want to bring some of my personal information, my personal experiences rather, and my knowledge from different instructors to help other people if this resonates with you as far as messages. But aside from that, those are a few of my personal examples of just blocking and cutting people off. And I know for some of you that's going to be hard as hell to be doing that, especially if it's in your own blood. But I highly recommend you look that up on YouTube, where Dr. Ramani, she'll talk about that. Now it's up to you if you want to agree or disagree, but she puts it so perfectly. And I've heard a number of life coaches as well where they're talking about dealing with toxic people, narcissistic people, including your family. And that, yeah, you definitely need to do your thing.